Welcome to How to Be a Couple with me, your host, Giuliano Gramado. If your partner isn't your best friend, what are you actually building? To be clear, this episode is not meant to disparage people for the type of relationship that they're in, but it is meant to show you what's possible and show you the type of relationship that you can have. Now, again, I've said this a lot of times. People like your relationship should be exactly whatever you want it to be. But what I want you to understand is that if your partner is just someone that you look at as, oh, this is the person that I have romance with, right? Like they fill the romance category of your life. What you have to understand is that, like, that, then that's the only role they're going to fill. And romance is not like the reality of your life, right? Your life is not just like your day to day is not just filled with romance. And if you want someone to be with you long term and you want to be with someone else long term, you want to be with someone who you actually are friends with. To be clear, I'm not telling you that you should pick a different person. Okay. And I'm not telling you that you should, that this should change who you choose. What I'm saying is that it should change the way that you view your partner. It should change the way you look at the person that you're with. So let's talk about it a little bit. A lot of people, I've said this so many times, but this is the truth of it, right? We all grew up watching TV, watching movies, and you see like this dramatic portrayal of what a relationship is supposed to look like. And a lot of times it's something that is super, passionate and over the top and there's all this drama and there's, like, oh, will they, won't they? And once they do, what's going to happen? And all these things. And like I've said before, it makes for a good story. Don't get me wrong. But the problem is that we've now adopted this view of relationships for ourselves as if that's how it's supposed to be in the real world. But like I mentioned before, when your partner is like, when you just view your partner as your romantic partner and that's it, um, you're missing a whole other piece of the puzzle when it comes to like the day to day of, a marriage. For me, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, like part of the reason why I'm sharing this is because I want you to see what's possible when it comes to relationships. I don't want you to settle for one thing when in reality, it can be so much more. So for our relationship with me and my wife, think about who your best friend is, okay? If it's not your partner or if you're single, right? Think about who your best friend is. I know for me, at least when I was single and I had best friends, that was the person that would like pop into my head whenever I had free time, right? And I would go and text that person, say, hey, what are you up to? What's going on? Let's hang out, blah, blah, blah. And I was always curious, like what this person would think, right? I would send them things like, oh, what do you think about this? Or, hey, this thing came up. Can I talk to you about it? And that's ultimately what you want your partner to be now. And I say this because the truth of the matter is that there are going to be people that come in and out of your life forever. Okay. And all of those people have their own storyline, right? They're on their own journey, they have their own priorities, and you might part ways with those people. And if that happens, um, that's okay, right? That's what's supposed to happen. But my point is this is that your partner is the person who, if you really do apply all the things that I share, that's the person that you might end up with forever. And being with that person, having someone that you can talk about everything with, that you share things with, that you work on your goals together with, that you support each other with, like that can be one of the most fulfilling things in the world. And when you have that partner in your life, it becomes okay when you have all these other people entering and exiting because that's just the nature of living your life, right? Someone could be your best friend. I think back to like how many best friends I've had over the years, and none of them are my best friend anymore. I'm still friends with them, but they're not my best friend, right? And it's because, like I said, people are on their own paths, their own journeys, and they're going to go different ways. The person who has been with me through all of it is now my wife, right? Through the amount of years that we've been together. And that's how it's going to continue to be. Now, someone could say, well, yeah, but what if you and your partner end up splitting? Yeah, that's also a reality. Okay. Like that's 100% a possibility, which is why I talk about how important personal development is, because, you know, you should be your own best friend, really, right at the core of it. But what I'm saying is, externally speaking, is like that's who you want your partner to be. You want your partner to be someone that you can talk to about things that you're concerned about, or things that you're interested in, or things that you are excited about. And your partner should be able to support you, but it should be the same, from your direction as well. Part of the reason why I share all this is because there tends to be like a managing of your marriage, right? Like the typical thing that you talk about is like husbands and wives like managing their relationship with each other, right? They might have a friend, they're like, oh, well, my husband said this, like, what should I do? Or I'm a little, I'm not sure what to say to my husband because of this. And like they'll talk to their friends about their spouse instead of just talking to their spouse. And I personally have experienced this. I actually, one of the things, I don't know if I've shared this before here, but um, I drove for Uber and for Lyft for like more than a decade. And I had a passenger in my car who she was telling me about some guy she was dating. And then he called her and she put him on speakerphone so I could hear. And it was funny because before he called, she was saying, like, yeah, I'm dating this guy. I don't know how I feel about it. He's kind of boring, blah, blah, blah. This is what she's telling me. And then he calls her. She picks up the phone, and the way she's talking to him, you would have no clue of the things she just said to me. That she found him boring. She's not sure if she's going to stay with him. The way she was talking to him was all lovey dovey and flirty and all this stuff. And then immediately she hangs up the phone. And she goes, "You see what I mean? Isn't he so boring?" Oh my gosh. And there's, just to be clear, there's no judgment of her, right? I think everyone's doing whatever they feel is best. Okay. That's totally fine. And, someone could look at it and say, hey, they're just dating, right? They're not married. And that's totally true, right? That's totally true. But I'm just using that as an example to share with you what I mean by people managing relationships, right? Instead of being fully present in them, they like take this meta viewpoint of it, right? And they're examining the relationship and they're examining the person. And then when they're with the person, they're not being open. They're not sharing those things. But if you think about someone that you're best friends with, you don't do that, right? Someone that is actually your best friend, you're not going to like tiptoe around them. You don't manage the relationship. You just exist in the relationship. And that's really the goal. That should be the goal with your partner. Because if you want someone who's going to be there through it all and is going to be your partner in life in every aspect of your life, that should be your intention. Is I'm not going to put a filter, right? I'm not going to try to manage this. I'm just going to exist in it. Now, to be clear, people have used this as an excuse for bad behavior, okay? And that irritates me beyond belief, because you absolutely should be respecting your partner. You should not be yelling at them. You should not be verbally abusing them, right? I mean, I think it goes without saying you shouldn't be physically abusing them, of course. But what I mean is that you there needs to be like a basic amount of respect, okay, between you and your partner. Just because I'm saying you should be authentic and you should be totally yourself and be completely present does not give you an excuse to treat your partner in a bad way. What it should give you a quote unquote an excuse to do is just to be honest, not in a harsh way, but to be letting your partner know, hey, this is what's going through my mind. This is how I'm feeling right now. This is what I'm concerned about. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm excited about. Right? You should be able to speak your mind with your partner, and your partner should be able feel free to do the same. And obviously, I share a lot of things here on the podcast and in my content to help you to be able to do that in a better way, right? How to be able to communicate with your partner, how to deal with them in a way that lets them feel loved and feel like they can communicate those things. So I encourage you to listen to the other content as well. But really, what this comes down to is your relationship shouldn't just be built on these like romantic feelings. What it should be built on ultimately is friendship, right? The biggest question is, do I like this person? And again, that's if you're dating. But if you're married, right? And you guys know this, right? If you're listening to me, I'm not I'm not in the camp of till death do us part. I'm not saying that you should never get divorced, but I also am very much in the camp of taking responsibility, right? Taking control of what you have control over, which mean that doesn't mean just blaming your partner and leaving. Oh, they're not the right person for me. Bye. Right. In order to apply this, if you feel like your partner isn't your best friend, then you have to take steps to view them that way. Right. And so if you're in a dating phase, right, you might say, well, do I like this person? I don't know. Okay. And maybe you end up staying with them, maybe not. If you're married, it might be a different conversation. Do I like my partner right now? No, I don't. Okay, so what do I need to do to like them? What can I find about my partner that I could appreciate? What are things that I look at and admire about my partner? Because those things are there. They're there in every single person that exists, but you have to put in the effort to find them. Okay. So if you want to actually be best friends with your partner, that's what I would encourage you to do. Start thinking about things that you appreciate about them, taking steps to be more open, to be more present instead of managing the relationship. If you want personalized relationship coaching, I have a waitlist going to work with me one on one. So just send me a DM on Instagram that says waitlist. I'm at howtobeacouple.co on Instagram. I'll add you to the list and let you know when a slot opens up. In the meantime, remember that the strongest relationships aren't just built on passion and romance, but they're built on friendship. All right. I'll talk to you next time.